episode
78.
78.
Getting a little embarrassing, not gonna lie.
Getting pretty rough to turn the cameras on and come here.
Yeah, well, I mean, between the game that we just watched, which was the DC game, and then we obviously had the midweek on Wednesday against Orlando, which, you know, everybody's aware of how that one ended. You're right, it does get difficult, and I don't know, like I'm sort of at a loss for words with where my thoughts are at, because I think we're sort of like pretty big optimists when it comes to this team, regardless of what we're seeing on the field. But it does get to a point, and you know, it's starting to get to a point where when you've lost 5 out of your last 6, like we're not talking like dropping points or drawing, but literally losing 5 out of your last 6 against what are pretty, I mean, if
mid, like when you look at the actual talent of the MLS and the top teams, they are not them. And
what we were last year, and what we in our hearts feel NYCFC should be.
Right.
They're out of these 5 games that we lost, I mean, at least 3 should have been W's. We should be able to manage W's against all of them, realistically. But yeah, it's tough. It's a tough scene right now for the NYCFC community.
Yeah, I don't know if you know, the magical run and the title and everything like that kind of inflated the idea of where we were as a club, and kind of you know, the MLS as a whole. Mm-hmm. You know, thinking that is something that we could just repeat. I know for sure, I don't think fans of this club realize just how difficult it is to repeat. It's easy, not easy. I would say it's been done before, where a team has stayed relevant and stayed a top team for many, many years at a time. But it's only ever happened twice that a team repeated back to back. Yeah. And those teams were both very, very stacked before and after that.
Yeah.
I think like David Beckham LA Galaxy was one of them. Mm-hmm. You know, those type of teams.
Yeah.
Not to say that those shouldn't be our standards, and that's not where we should be wanting to be as fans. But we also, in my opinion, for our own sake, need to be a little realistic and check into the history of the league, and realize, you know, I know for a fact people don't realize it, because I've heard it today, even literally today, maybe seconds before.
Before recording.
Yeah. Oh, we're only missing Ronny and we're only missing Tati. Mm-hmm. No, we're missing Ronny, Tati, Keaton, Alfredo.
I have a list here. Alfredo, Thiago Martins, now Tinnerholm. If what we're doing, and we've definitely done it on this podcast, is compare this season to last season, and Sean told us to shut up. But if we're including people lost from that magical run, which I think is where a lot of our brains are holding NYCFC expectations at, then we have to throw, we've lost Sands, we've lost Goody, and then a lot of the fringe players that provided some depth.
Right.
Guys like Rocha, who had no problem. Shradi have no problem in our playoff run, stepping in and being a guy that is like just the
right piece at the right time.
Yeah, piece of duct tape that, like, you know, Rocha put in that 20-30 minutes at New England against guys that just set the point record in MLS history, at home in the playoffs in extra time. This dude came off the bench and was a stud.
Right.
And he's like the 6th most important guy out of everybody we lost.
Right. Or who is currently injured.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I've always been, I know you've echoed it as well. If we're in the playoffs, we're in the playoffs. We're going to give them hell regardless. I stand by that today. It gets harder to defend when it's 5 losses out of 6.
Mm-hmm. Well, because we have 6
because you
left.
Not only that, the amount of games left, but you don't want to allow that to be a standard that is forgivable. Like, you don't want to accept that as a fan base and say, you know what, we lost 5 out of 6, but hey, man, we're in the playoffs at least. Mm-hmm. That's not this club.
And Cushing accountable.
You want to hold people accountable. But there's a difference between holding people accountable and holding the club accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And in my opinion, overreacting to the point where you're completely ignoring bare facts in front of your face.
And making it difficult for the club to even turn it around. You know, it's probably very unlikely that players see any or see messages, period, from fans if, you know, maybe not even one ever, like throughout the season. It
depends. Tati definitely saw stuff.
yeah. It depends on the player. And maybe that's why a lot of players don't follow, you know, different fan things on Twitter because, like, you know, they're regular people and on their off days they do not want to see, you know, somebody on
some
Twitter.
report card about their job. Like if I had to log on to Twitter and they were like,
it was like your boss.
This guy, you know, this guy. I was like, oh, okay.
And they're like, they're actively trying to get you fired.
Right.
So I feel that from them. But I think you're right. You know, there does have to be, it's a balancing act to figure out how to balance between us accepting that we think we have a chance if we're in the playoffs, but not keeping players and the team accountable for losing 5 out of 6, which, I mean, we said it at the start of this, losing 5 out of 6 when it was 3 losses in a row being the worst form in club history. I mean, we've continued it. This is now still the worst club or the worst form in club history.
Hopefully it will go down as the worst.
Yeah.
And it won't happen again.
But that's what's worrying is so there's 6 games left until the playoffs, right? And it's like we just went through 6 games, and these 6 were far easier than the 6 that we have upcoming, which would be New England away. I mean, that's going to be a nightmare. The Red Bulls, although it's at home, we know those scumbags give us a game. They will always give us a game.
Yeah.
Charlotte, we couldn't beat them at home. We're traveling away. Not only the team, but us, we are traveling away.
If anything, the biggest weight is on that game to me because it is right at the top of one of the 2 vacations I will take this year.
Mm-hmm. It's at the start. We kind of
right at the top.
We really made a poor decision.
Right at the top.
To set
we should have just gone
in motion.
Literally this whole week and just chilled there.
Ended it with this.
Ended it with the game.
Yeah.
But anyways,
but also the vacation might pull us out of the deep dark depression that we'll be in if we have to watch that live.
Yeah.
But that's the point. You know, these 6 games that just happened versus the 6 that are upcoming have been easier, and we haven't performed. And, you know, that's the thing about accountability is it's not impossible. I mean, nothing is impossible for us to continue out of our next 6. If we match or even like slightly do better than what we've just done, like there's a way that we aren't in the playoffs realistically. Like that can happen if we are truly in free fall mode. Like that can happen. That can happen.
No, it's entirely
possible.
What I mean? Yeah. And it's important for us, like we were saying, to hold them accountable for it, but we have to do it in the right way, in a way that, you know, we're not making decisions just because, you know, the final whistle just blew and, you know, we're feeling emotional.
And I do have to, that just made me think of something. I feel like we do come on here and we give very high praises to Joe and Ian very often, so I think it's fair enough if we talk a little bit about their commentary in this game, which I think was not accurate to the way that a lot of fans feel, at least the way I feel. You know, one of the things Ian was talking about was that just because the club is feeling pressure to go out and sign somebody, in a way, the silver lining is that they're not just going to sign somebody to sign somebody because fans are pressuring them. Right. And I understand that if that was what the scenario was, but, you know, we were talking about it in the NYCFC group chat, and, like, we've known Tati's was leaving for 2 windows. Right. Like, it wouldn't have just been like, oh my God, fans are trying to bang down the door for 2 months. Let's just sign a guy to shut him up. Like, it's been almost a year's worth of time for you to do that scouting and look for that replacement, and like that's something you haven't done. Or to
create the plan from within and be transparent with it. Mm-hmm. And the frustration isn't just that, you know, oh, we're not signing players, we need to be signing players. That's not it. It's we lose key players in key positions And we're also at the same time seeing other MLS teams do things that don't even make sense.
Don't even seem legal.
It doesn't make sense, the moves that they're making.
Yeah,
LAFC. And so, we're in a position where we're like, okay, we just lost somebody huge, and we watched Benteke, Bale, all these names, Insigne, Bernadeschi, all of these guys, all these attackers.
Benteke, I think, did you say him?
Yeah.
All right.
Him too.
Yeah, I mean, all these people, and it's like, it's tough to see.
That's why we're upset. It's not because
it's the FO's lack of purchasing
ambition or competitiveness or wanting to do what our fans are expecting, which is to repeat or make a really good push.
And it's dumb because as fans, we get hit on it with both ends, so we have to deal with the sorrow of our FO, not backing the club with purchases, but then even though that they don't do that, other away fans are going to hit us with the oil money CFG thing.
Right.
And it's like, dude, we wish LAFC is living our dream. We know we have the resources to be doing it, and we aren't.
Right. Or not even getting the CFG products anymore. It's going to more important leagues and things like that. We're not even really benefiting from that anymore. Mm-hmm. And so, it's super frustrating. But then
NYCFC has become a long American long play for 2026 World Cup. I think I bet, dude, when it start getting closer to the World Cup in America, CFG is probably going to treat us like their favorite child. I guarantee we're going to be their favorite child.
Yeah.
And that could just be Cope talking.
Right. Well, we're going to have Man City training with us again. And all that stuff.
So that'll be, I guess that, if nothing else, is something to look forward to years from now.
Right.
If we cannot right this ship immediately.
Right. And real quick, without going on too deep of a dive on it, my feelings personally about Cushing, I think going into it, we knew he wasn't going to be the guy forever. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has the interim tag for a reason.
Right. And it's not a knock really to him. I'm not a Cushing out guy. Mm-hmm. He's our guy for the year. That's whatever you have to do to cope with that. Yeah. Do it. Do it now. Literally look yourself in the mirror and just cope with that for a minute.
If he loses the next,
he could lose literally all the 6 games
until the season ends. He will not be removed from his position. And here is another realistic fact to face. I think is when he's removed, it's not going to be from the club. It's going to be a demotion, probably back into an assistant coach position. This is a company man.
Right.
He's not going anywhere.
Yeah. And so, whatever you need to do personally to cope with that, do that very quickly. Because he's going to be the guy for the next 6 games. Whether you think that he's going to re-sign next year or you think we're going to fire him the minute that the season ends, the final whistle, whatever, you have to cope with the fact that he is the manager right now.
I think barring... Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's no matter what, Orlando, he's not defending that late header. Mm-hmm. He's not barely getting a hand on the ball as it rolls into the back of the net. Is he making perfect tactical decisions? No. Mm-hmm. Is he making great subs? No. But at the end of the day, it's the players, it's the 11 on the field who are giving up the defensive chances. Whether they're listening to the tactics or not, they are still doing that, and they're not getting back fast enough. Or whatever it is, they're not winning the headers, they're not completing the passes, they're not finishing the chances. So, wasting time, in my opinion, wasting time on the Cushing out narrative does no good for anybody. It does no good.
Do you think it's... I just thought of this. Do you think it's shocking we haven't seen... I mean, we haven't had many home games. I mean, RBA is a home game, but that we haven't seen a Cushing out banner yet.
Yeah, with the Ronny out banner, while he was
dude, that was up that, bro. He lost 3 games.
Yeah.
And it was get this guy out of here. I'm shocked we haven't seen one. And maybe they're realistic and they know what you just preached is the truth. Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, to me, and it's not something I don't want to take a shit. I'll just say I don't want to take a shit on our own fans, but it's a dose of reality that I think a lot of people need. And I love every one of you guys, everyone that shares our passion for the club. Like, you have my full respect. I would never want to put down somebody's opinion, but we have to get to the point where we move past something that we know is not going to change. If we're going into next season and Cushing is named our manager, then everyone needs to get loud. Yeah, everyone needs to be like at Yankee Stadium, at wherever the front office is, and being loud. The
training ground at the Etihad.
Because at that point we can make change. Yeah. Right now we can't. It is what it is.
Yeah,
that's all I wanted to get across.
I was going to say my opinion on Cushing is barring like a massive turnaround, like an MLS Cup,
6 in a row MLS Cup
appearance. Like I think an MLS Cup appearance buys him a job next season. Just an appearance. Losing in the MLS Cup, he's in still.
But
right?
Watch how quick that would flip to be. Oh, well, the players won it.
Yeah, well,
the players won it.
I know, but so my take on Cushing is I think that interim tag is a perfect cop out for us. If we continue to obviously look the way that we do, I don't even think when you replace like an interim with a real manager, like it's even like a firing or like a Cushing out scenario.
It's just a promotion. Yeah.
So I wouldn't say I am that. It's just a business move. But I personally would be looking to bring in a different manager that makes sense. If we do, almost anything outside of like an MLS Cup appearance. Like if we lose in the semis, like I'm probably still. Oh yeah. I'm interested in the club searching far and wide to find somebody that makes more sense for us.
I would even argue that like an MLS Cup win would still you look at the body of work though. Yeah. You look at the body of work as a whole and you're like,
well, you'll have to see how the games go.
Does this fit in? Like, the decisions and the style of play, does that fit in with New York City Football Club and CFG? Yeah. If the answer isn't a 100% unanimous yes, then it's a no, 100%.
Well, I think one of the major issues with us winning in 2021 was we talked about it at some point halfway through the season, but it makes it look to CFG and to our front office like things are good. Right. Why do we need to go out of our way to make decisions and make moves and spend money? We just won the cup. Why do we have to do that? Right. Like, clearly things are going well. So, like, I would be concerned if we scrap our way into the MLS Cup or even scrap our way to winning it, and then there being, like, a thought from the company side, the FO, that's like, hey, Cushing did it. And, right. even though they're watching the games and, they're seeing the same things as us, it's very easy to flip that into ammo to make a business decision to say things are fine. We don't need to make the team better because, like, we were just the best that anyone could be.
I wonder, too, you said the editor allowed a waffle episode, so it's going to be that. But I wonder how much influence Ronny had at the end of the season / the start of this season to say, I'm all right with this squad that I have, and I'll be all right without this player, that player, and that player, so you can send them off, and I'll work with what I have here, and I need to add a defender for depth, and I'm good with that. Yeah, and we can build on this and go for another run. Yeah, and then later departs and it's no longer his project that he was working on. I wonder how much influence he had in those decisions. If he was reassuring the front office that, I can do it. I know you guys need to raise probably a little bit of money, so you can get rid of this person, that person. Yeah. And bring in, a defender for me, and I'll be good with that.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard to know because I think it was David Lee that said it when Ronny ultimately left in the press conference afterwards. He said that they had been negotiating with him since like almost after the week after the MLS Cup ended. Yeah. They had been negotiating with him. So, I don't know if that means that Ronny's heart was always Europe. So would he care enough to be doing what you just said? Right. It's hard to know. But I think regardless of the situation, when you're a manager coming into a different regime's plan and team,
Right.
you know, there are going to be pretty massive growing pains, especially if you take away all the players that we listed off earlier.
List of players.
And like all of them have been our best players
in every
literally
position.
in every position that we lost somebody, they were the one.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Yep.
Right back, both center back positions, striker.
Yep.
Holding mid with Alfredo. I mean, everybody. Keaton, and then Alfredo, then the next guy up. It's just, I don't envy Cushing's job.
Oh no, not at all. And that's why I'm reluctant to fully bash the dude every day. It's like, my goodness. I mean, I don't know. It's insane to think that we're even staying in these games under those circumstances.
Mm-hmm. And maybe.
Go for it.
I was gonna say maybe it's time we do a little bit more specific game analysis. Obviously, we're minutes removed from what was that game against DC, which, I mean, many people, and not just many people, but the table says is the worst club in the league. Right. They beat us tonight at home, and they did not move up in the table. They are that far back.
Right.
So people aren't lying when they say that they're that bad. And then, we obviously have Charlotte, who was the worst away team in the league, who came away to us at home and beat us. And these are the things. And it's like, with this DC game, I think, we were texting before Mati and Thiago got on the field, and I mean Tavon kind of showed it more late, but there was not much fire from anybody. Yeah,
we're used to more tenacity and fight and pressing, and it just wasn't there. I mean,
our fight now that used to be channeled in trying to make things happen and channeled towards chippiness towards the other team,
right,
has just become anger, like, towards the referees
and each other and
I mean, we haven't been chippy towards another team. It's like, it's been towards
outside of Tavon, who I was just gonna when you started that, I was gonna praise him because he would win a ball and scream, I can only assume in a thick New York accent, stupid at the attacker trying to get by him.
Yeah. He was chewing out Benteke too.
Yeah, he was screaming at everybody. He was. I mean, like, if everyone could play with that attitude.
Yeah.
I was on Discord with my girlfriend at the time and telling her, like, the way that this dude's playing right now, I don't know how or why, but that was inside of me when I was competing.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like if you play that way, good things are going to eventually happen. And he was yelling stupid.
Mm-hmm.
He was yelling probably bozo.
He was playing well though.
He was like, pass the ball. Like, what are you doing trying to dribble around me? Pass it.
Yeah.
But while playing well.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the chippiness and attitude that Tati had, where he would dive in 2-footed at a center back for holding the ball too long, and thinking, oh, you don't respect me.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to hold the ball. You don't respect me. I'm going to dive and break your ankles.
Yeah.
Like,
and get the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just wish that was something that continued. And is that a result of Tati leaving? Is that a result of the results? Is that a result of the coaching? I don't know. I really don't know. Because Cushing's used to, his biggest gig was dealing with women's soccer.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if the approach maybe that he would take is softer or whatever. I'm not in the locker room, so I really don't know. But I just wish that there was that tenacity and fight still.
Yeah, I think aside from Tavon, we didn't see it until subs were made. And I got a little bit of that feeling from Maxi. But really who it came from for me was Thiago, who I think was one of our better players in this tough stretch, and for whatever reason he didn't get the start tonight. I think Ian said that, one of the players that looked the best. How he doesn't end up in the lineup, I'm not sure. And then actually it came from Matty too when he came in. He was obviously rusty tonight.
Yeah.
But as we got deeper into the 80s and stoppage time, you start to see that rust wear off. But at least up until that point where he started to get into the game, he was like fighting. Like he wants a spot on this team. That he does. You can tell.
Yeah.
And that is what we need. And we talked about it in the Mati signing episode, was that lights a fire under these other guys, and it hasn't yet, and maybe that's because these are the first minutes he's gotten, but I hope that he brings them to a higher level of caring, if not about the team, about the fact that they might get displaced, which could affect their career adversely.
He's going to displace somebody.
Yeah. I mean, GP didn't look great tonight, and he's somebody that I
think GP's a lock.
Mm-hmm. But he didn't look great tonight, is what I'm saying.
Talles, to me, is a lock, despite, not scoring in every game.
Yeah.
I mean, shocker, the young guy doesn't score every game.
Bro.
I'm not sipping that juice. Don't even offer it to me, because we'll go until 12 o'clock.
I would just prefer him at the left wing and have a proper 9. I don't know if I want to wait the 2 years that it took Tati to develop into one, and go through that stretch, that painful first round exit of the playoff stretch again. I would prefer just open the wallet, slam the card, and give us a 9 that works.
Yeah.
Other than the 2 years of pain.
So then my top 3 is Talles, GP, and Mati. To be honest, just with, I would take the potential high ceiling on him rather than Thiago and Santi. I'd want to see through the middle, personally.
Yeah.
And Maxi has not been really Maxi lately. So.
And I don't think Maxi will be around either.
He's not demanding a starting role in this current form.
I mean, Maxi and Santi are having themselves a mid-off in that camp, in that 10 position.
Yeah.
They are having
I would just prefer the pace of Santi, I think.
A mid-off. And the youth, I think, too. And the only thing with me for Santi is the jawing at the ref. Just it cannot continue at the level that it is. Jaw at the other players.
Right.
To reconfigure the anger that is jawing into performance. Figure a way.
Yeah, just reroute that straight to being I need to be better.
Yeah, I'm a dog.
Yeah, he is.
I will show it.
I've sat here for episode after episode defending Santi while he was in fact having a mid-off with Maxi, all the while knowing that he's not really there yet and still fighting for that boy. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to continue to do that, but I do need him to kind of bark back a little bit. Yeah.
Just not at the ref.
Not at the ref.
Anymore.
And Thiago, I just think that he is a little bit too direct for how we play right now. Mm-hmm. He's a little too... direct may not even be the word. He's too one-track minded a little bit, and I'm not going to call him a pace merchant. I think that's kind of disrespectful to his skill set, but...
he has some development
he has definitely undergo. And he needs to be scanning more when he does get opportunities on the ball. He needs to grow in that sense, but I'm willing to do that, to give that to him, because we've talked about how he's just kind of thrown in there and expected great things because great things happened early.
Yeah, I think
that's not his fault.
I think another thing that we hear often from Ian and Joe as well is that they're Ian's tagline is there's so much talent on this team, and it was Axe, I think, that said it on Twitter. It's not talent. We have to stop saying that. It is potential. And I'll give credit to Ian. I think later in the game he said potential, and I know he is a man of Twitter, so maybe he
read it.
Maybe he read it and he was like, that's actually true.
Correct. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
I think so.
It is purely potential at the moment. And it's
we got caught up in the talent mindset when we won the chip.
Yeah.
And everything that was a maybe was an absolute.
Yes.
For 2 months straight.
Mm-hmm. It was like you said, it was magic. It was one of those moments where players were fighting for something, maybe unconsciously although none of us wanted to admit it at the time, we knew this was going to be our last go with Tati. Who knows to what degree that players and coaches, assistants that have relationships to Ronny might have known about his mindset and his plans for the future. So potentially a thought of the last go with Ronny, and then of course fighting for Tinnerholm and fighting for Keaton, and then
now we get to fight for half the roster.
Yeah, we're fighting for everyone right now, and fighting for
our
my
lives.
Sanity and yours and our happiness. So hopefully, in these next 6 games, we really have to turn something around. We obviously, I don't know if it's gonna. I think it is beyond the point of coming down to a goodie moment. I think it's beyond that somebody's gonna score some crazy goal and it's gonna be a switch flicker. We obviously have some bigger issues to overcome right now in terms of mistakes. So we gotta fix it up.
Yeah. And so if you have made it this far in the video, genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
I feel like this is one of our better ones, actually.
I do too. I think it's one that you can actually listen to the whole way through, and there's no part where anybody's going to be bored at all.
Me too.
And so if you've made it this far, I appreciate it. We both appreciate it. Keep your fingers crossed for this team and for us in our personal lives. For the next coming weeks, because we could use it. And follow us anywhere that you find podcasts.
It's probably at Post90Pod wherever you look. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter.
Any social media. We're not on Facebook, but
we are, but
but we're not.
It hasn't been touched,
We're not,
in years.
Like we're there, but we're not though.
And then I don't know if you said it, but obviously sub on YouTube. That is the platform for us that we like to sort of invest our time in. So be very much appreciated, and we will catch you guys after that New England game.
Yeah, definitely. I just spaced out.
Yeah,
we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
Peace.